Amazon.
Dang.
Let's start here
Yeah.
before we get to the bank situation. Amazon to lay off 9,000 more workers, which brings the total to 27,000 people. How do we feel about this? What does it say about the economy? What does it say about the tech sector? What does it say?
Or you want to go first?
I'll just say the first thing, and it goes back to when we talked about it in December, when they laid off 18,000 people, and we saw Meta do it, and not 18,000, but we saw them do 11, and we saw Google, and we saw Microsoft do it. These are the effects of the pandemic, right? When we talk about a lot of the tech companies, how were they going to respond to the overwhelming demand on their product? Well, the response was to hire more people. When people have changed the way that they go about business, the way they go about lifestyle, the way they go about spending, there's going to be a change in your business. And the change just happened to be, especially for Amazon, that people are going back outside and they're shopping. People still use Amazon, but there's an alternative to how they once were only shopping. And so I looked up the statistics. This is pretty interesting. Between Q4 2019 and Q3 2022, their headcount increased by 93%.
Jeez.
93%.
Yeah.
That's nearly almost 100% more people worked during that time than they had originally planned, right? Even if you were creating a hiring board in 2019 going into 2020, you could have never imagined that this would be the increase of hires. And so what comes on the inverse of that, when there needs to be cutbacks, some people are going to lose their jobs. It's unfortunate. The count is like 27,000. So this round of cuts is expected to impact the cloud computing, advertising, human resources, and Twitch units. So a lot of gaming, a lot of, again, cloud computing. It's unfortunate, right? Because these 27,000, I know it feels like it's a number, but these are actually people.
Yes.
And these people have families and these people have bills, and it's unfortunate. But this is part of the economy, right? This is what comes with gross overhiring. There are going to be layoffs and cutbacks. And so, again, it's unfortunate. But I don't think this is the end, right? Because we're still trying to figure out, and especially a lot of these companies in tech are trying to figure out what is the right medium. You don't want to underhire. But what comes with that, and I know that you stress this a lot, Ian, is that we have to figure out how we can get more with less people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is a prime case of it.
A couple of interesting things. Like you said, this isn't going to be the last cut, number one. So they're layering, because a company can't effectively lay off 50,000 people in 1 week, 1 quarter, 1 day. It'll send shockwaves throughout the market. Number two, as they're transitioning to a new CEO, there's some dramatic changes that had to be made. If you look, the stock at one point was at 188.65. It came down to 84.02, which pretty much cut the value of the stock in half. Therefore, you had to make some adjustments. Number three, I don't like this for the workforce. I was doing some analysis earlier, and without quantitative easing in 2008 through 2020, the supply of money that came in 2020 and the bailouts that we'll talk about tonight, we have effectively been in a recessive market since 2019. We're in 2023 right now. So what we're saying, as we're seeing a hiring freeze, Meta's done the same thing, and they're also no longer going to be hiring 5,000 more jobs that they plan to. These companies have to cut back, and they're also having to find ways to be more efficient in real time. Sadly enough, cutting these jobs will allow the stock to go back up. But even when I was talking to my brother yesterday, he was saying, you used to be able to find some great deals on Amazon, but because of inflation, you are not finding as many. Amazon is one of the top picks in the Red Panda Stock Club. It's been hovering around like 93 to 97 for a while. Maybe about another 8 to 13 months, it should get back to like 140, 111. But they need to cut some more jobs. And then on the management side, they need to do a hell of a lot better job of being more efficient and getting their cost basis up in terms of net income and net revenue. So this is sad, because this is not going to be the last of it. And this is why they're pushing AI at every angle that they can. GPT-4 was released. Microsoft now has their version. But we're just seeing, we're probably only like in the middle of these job cuts for tech overall.
So what does this say about Amazon as far as investing in the company, as far as their stock is concerned? As Amazon's been a company that, we've talked about a lot, as far as, a good investment. long term? Is it still a good investment?
Absolutely.
Okay.
1,000%.
But I like that 75 and below. Like anything above that right now is, and also it goes back to Bezos' leadership. We cannot, same with LeBron. Like we're kind of taking LeBron for granted, even though like he's in his last 2 to 3 years. We took Bezos for granted for a long time. Andy's a great executive, but Bezos was a superstar, rock star level CEO that over delivered. He may need to come back to that seat for a couple of years to right the ship.
Yeah. And I think you said it, and most people like maybe be confused by it, but yeah, these layoffs will probably mean that the stock is going to go up. Mm-hmm. And we had this conversation last week when we were talking about Salesforce, when it was like, all right, we need to really figure out where our spending is and how we're going to cut spending. And one of those things that they do is lay off employees. Yes. And so when they lay off employees, and now they have more money to make business more efficient. It's a sad effect, but it's a real effect, right? Of, cutting jobs. You want to make more money.
Yeah.
So you say you like it under $75, correct?
Correct.
All right. Well, I think it also speaks to just making work more efficient. And this can lead to a conversation. I don't know if you guys seen it, but they've been pushing more and more about this four-day work week situation.
Yeah.
More and more companies are pushing towards that. And I had a conversation to my barber. Shout out to Bubs. I was in the shop today and we was listening. They were talking about it on the radio.
Crispy, by the way.
Appreciate that. Very important. Very important. So this is my philosophy, right? Because he was asking me, like, do I think the 4-day work week is a good idea? And I'm like, I guess technically, but in our line of work, for instance, it's an everyday work week, but it's done not traditionally. So like the person that does our YouTube, right? His name is Rich. Shout out to him. I get up in the morning and I'll give him like tasks for the day. I try to do it before 10 o'clock. And then he just has to do it at some point in time. So he could potentially do it before 1 o'clock, before 12 o'clock, anything, right? Like, and then you're done for the day. But we need to post content every single day. So that, to me, that type of hybrid approach is what we're going into, right? We're going into the office and clocking in at 9 o'clock and wasting time and leaving at 5:30. Like those days are over. I feel like you have tasks that you have to be completed. You can complete those tasks from anywhere. Yes. You can do a Zoom call if you need to have a conference, or you can just call somebody if you need to talk to somebody. There's no need to physically be there. So that cuts overhead as far as, and this goes back to the commercial real estate play, that cuts overhead as far as office is concerned, but it also cuts the amount of people that you need as well, because you realize you don't really need that many people, because a lot of people are getting paid to do nothing.
Trim the fat. So
trim the fat, extremely important, and not to call people fat, because we are sensitive that people are getting laid off. Nobody wants to see anybody lose their job. But I'm just saying, as far as moving forward, I feel like more and more companies will look to see how you can get more efficiency from your employees. And in my opinion, that's from the employees staying at home, having tasks that have to be completed. It doesn't matter when. You can do the task at 1 o'clock in the morning if you want. Just do the task. And that's the new working model, in my opinion.
Can I chime in really quick and tell a very soft truth that most people need to hear? The 4-hour work week proposition is being done, and efficiency is going to be slung around so they don't have to give us full-time benefits, because they're not going to have most people work. If you are at 8 hours a day, hello, Michael, and you're working 4 days a week, you're going to be at 32 hours. They don't have to then give you full-time. And I'm seeing this happen with some people right now. Like they'll put you right up to like 38 and a half, 39 hours to avoid 40 hours plus and giving you full benefits. So please be careful as they are pushing this initiative of a 4-day work week, that you don't get caught in that trap of them trying to lower your benefits or your pay, and then subconsciously or subtly in corporate forcing you to do more while giving you less.
Yeah, you see in France that well, you should get, what did you say? You said, wait. No. You said, I just want to be clear what you said. You said, be careful that they don't give you less for doing
Benefits.
less? For doing
Yes.
less?
But
You should
because-
you should get less for doing less.
But what they're going to do, because, and the truth is, like, they've ruined our economy. And then, like, notice whenever the banks collapse, which is a sign of a recession, they have to bail out banks because mass consolidation is an easy way to form a quiet monopoly. They always end up blaming the people for destroying the economy. It wasn't the workforce that caused the collapse of SVB or FTX or Bitcoin imploding from 60 down to 20,000. We'll talk about Bitcoin later. It wasn't the consumers that did that. It was the organizations and leadership that did that. But then, and always watch, even in the SVB thing, they're going to start to put some of this on Black entrepreneurs and said that they were given risky loans and they didn't meet a certain risk profile, which reminds me a lot of and for those of you who don't know, when the housing market collapsed, it wasn't because Blacks and Latins got 2 and 3 houses. That wasn't it. We didn't have any credit default swap options on these investments, right? It was hard enough for us to open up a brokerage in 2008, but you want to make me think that we imploded a global market. And when they were putting exotic tranches together and selling them off in Germany and Ukraine and Russia and trading them like option derivatives, the consumer always get blamed. And we always get blamed as on the Black consumer side. So yes, we want to make things more efficient, but I also don't want us to take the blame for this market falling apart when we did not cause that crash.
That's important.
Yeah, that's a fact.
My graduates from my school being Forbes, bag drop.
Bag drop.
A mic drop, bag drop.
Bag drop.